everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Rare Company podcast. I am your host, Raven Siobhan, and I started this brand in effort to influence and inspire others to be Rare Company as well. You see, I've grown to learn from my past and began planting seeds, and I want to be able to help others do the same since that is my passion. Today's culture, we like to attack and cancel what we don't understand. But what we all need to understand is that we all come from different walks of life, which grant us different experiences. So we need to take those experiences and learn to radiate acceptance, respect, and empower one another, because that is the only way that we're going to have less violence and encourage greater success. So join me and my guests as we tackle trending topics, mental health, recipes, and much more. Thanks for listening. I've been complaining so much about all the things that I have to do because that's really a part of the process, and trusting the process. Hello, y'all. It has been such a long time since I went live, let alone did a podcast. I've had so much going on. If you follow me, you know that I just gave birth almost 4 months ago. I've been on maternity leave, so I've been getting my mommy, my mom of two going on. But it is October. We're coming to an end. We only have a few days left in Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And y'all know that I was not going to let this month end, even though we close to it. I was not going to let this month end without speaking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Now, I made a post earlier and I was asking if there were any questions that anyone had related to DVAM, and I did get a few answers. So I do want to go ahead and address those questions, those concerns, those things that people don't really feel like they know about dating violence awareness. A lot of people, when they think of domestic violence, they just think of the bruises and the black eyes, but we know that it's way more than that, and we know that it starts with way more than that. So first thing I want to say is, when it comes to dating, there is no black or white. We are our own people. We don't have the right to tell someone what should work for them, what their type should be, any of that stuff, because we all have the right to dignity and self-respect. However, it is literally my job, and we can all share with someone when we feel like, a situation is unhealthy or even abusive to them, and it could possibly lead to something fatal like death. So before I dive further into the topic, I want to pause real quick, and I just want to take a moment of silence, a moment of reflection, a moment of truth, and a moment for us to pray, because we're really going to need to pray. I'm going to show a little slideshow that I created with just a few victims who have died in this past month alone, y'all, from domestic violence. I'm hoping that seeing their ages, the range of how young to how old this is happening to, that people wake up and see that this is not just something that we should continue to brush over and joke about and take lightly of. Like, this is something that we are all responsible for taking a part of. And if we're not going to be a part of the solution, then of course we are part of the problem. So I want us to take a moment of silence, because some of you listening to the sound of my voice right now or watching this podcast may not understand, but this is really a we problem. And until we learn to do better, this will continue to happen. The theme of DVAM 2021 is Everyone Knows Someone. And whether we may realize it or automatically identify the signs or not, we all know someone who is experiencing domestic violence, and there's something that all of us can do. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take our moment of silence. I'm going to show y'all a slideshow of women, again, who have died this year from domestic violence. So Jasmine Haight, Gloria Swinton, Maisha Davis, Michelle Avon, Courtney Cox, Shayla James, Loretta Bruno, LaShonda Bowser, Danielle Stuckey. Y'all, there are way more than this. I follow this page called the Black Femicide. There are way more women on there than this. This is just a few that I put together just because I was shocked at how this is something that is happening while Domestic Violence Awareness Month is going on. It just goes to show you that people truly don't care if it's not happening to them and if it's not hitting home. So I just wanted to be able to give you some information because the 19-year-old girl that you just saw, whose face I just showed you on there, the 19-year-old girl, she was killed in her apartment by her boyfriend, right? And her boyfriend ended up killing himself also. Both of these, they're babies, y'all. They're 19 years old, both of them. And he killed her because she didn't want to be with him anymore. She wanted to end the relationship, and he didn't want that. So he killed her and ended up killing himself. And for me, the question just goes, instead of me pointing the finger and the blame and trying to figure out why she stayed in that situation, or obviously she was trying to get out, or, why she was with an abusive partner or anything like that, I wanted to look at the problem and figure out, why is this happening in the first place? And I think the obvious answer to that question is because some of us don't know how to be healthy in relationships. Some of us only know toxic. Some of us have only experienced toxic. Some of us haven't had healthy behaviors modeled to us. So we grow up thinking that unhealthy and toxic behaviors are normal, and they're not, right? So I'm just seeing this case with these two 19-year-olds, both dead, as a result to a domestic situation where one person simply just did not want to be in a relationship. Both of them could have gone on to live their lives, but instead both of them are gone at 19 years old. And that's sad to me. And you think 19 years old is young to be in a domestic situation, but I need people to understand that teenagers way younger than that are going through the same things. And I'll get more and more into that in February for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. But the point is, this is happening and it's serious. And as long as we continue to joke about it and take light of it, then it's going to continue to happen. At the end of the day, I'm not here to tell people like, oh, it's not funny. You shouldn't be making a joke about, whatever. Choking, for example. I'll give you that. Let's go with that example. I had a student joking with me this past week telling me that they like to be choked, right? And since that's the number one cause of death in domestic violence relationships, strangulation, I sat and thought to myself, I said, okay. So I said, so you like being choked? She was like, yeah, it's the excitement of, the argument and the making up after the argument. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, so what is it really about the choking that you like? She was like, it's not really the choking. It's just the rush, the excitement. And I was like, well, is there not any other things that you can do to get a rush or get that excitement in a relationship? So it's things like that we have to ask ourselves. Are we really addicted to arguing in relationships? Are we really addicted to fighting? Is that stuff really exciting to us? Or is it misguided and there's something deeper behind it that we're actually looking for, that we're getting in that abusive relationship? So that's just something that has been on my mind, and I just wanted to address really quickly because where does it end? This year alone, there have been, according to the Black Femicide page, there have been over 300 deaths by domestic violence. And and that's just for Black women. That's just Black women. So we're not talking about Asians, whites, which are all races are equally important when we're talking about domestic violence. But I'm speaking specifically from this page that I follow. When the whole Saweetie and Quavo thing happened back on the elevator a few months ago, oh, that was completely cool because they was just, throwing each other around. Everybody was on the shade room and under all the comments saying how it was just some regular couple shit that just normally happens and it is what it is. Okay. Same thing that I posed a question to one of my students. How do you think in an abusive relationship it gets to death? Do you think that that an abusive person just wakes up one day and just decides that they're going to start hitting or slapping or punching or whatever? They don't just get up one day and start using their fists. It starts small and it escalates to bigger things. So while you may think, oh, tugging each other around and, you know, knocking each other over and stuff like that is okay and it's fine. But the more and more you get used to that, it's going to escalate over time. And that's what's dangerous. When the Tiger situation happened, like a week ago, and I thought this was pretty funny. So many people were under the comments after his ex-girlfriend posted how she was assaulted by him. She posted her black eye, and everyone was focused on how she's white and made so many disgusting victim blaming comments talking about how well, white women love being with black men, and making it seem as if that justified, like, well, white women gonna get tired of being with black women one day. What does that have to do with anything? Whether she's white or Asian or Hispanic or whatever, what does her race have to do with being abused in a relationship? She was abused. That's what we should focus on. So because it's Tyga and because it was a white woman, we wasn't going to focus on the fact that there was abuse going on. We just worrying about the fact that she's white. Okay, moving on. So if that was China in that situation, or a black woman in that situation, what would the focus be on? Would there be, I honestly believe that there would be a shift in victim blaming comments. I think that the victim blaming would just be a little different. It will look more so like, well, why did you stay in a relationship with him? Because Tyga's ex disclosed how this happened multiple times in their relationship, and she just said, I'm finally tired of not speaking up about it, so I'm just going to say something about it, right? So now she decided to say something, and same deal. So I think the shift would change to people just saying things like, oh, I think the shift would just change to what people saying things more so along the lines of, why did she stay in a relationship? Why was she with him so long? And we're going to get to victim blaming in a second, because that is something that happens all the time. Also, people are victim blaming. And when you do that, when you ask the person who has been abused why you stayed, why this, why that, any of those questions, you're taking the blame from the perpetrator and putting it on them. And all the blame should be on them, because at the end of the day, they're the one who is causing the violence. If that makes sense. I'm not talking about being manipulated in a situation to where you feel like something is your fault and then you have to, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being in a position where you've just been completely attacked and someone asks you why you stayed in that situation, and you don't even know how to answer that question, or it's hard to answer that question. And sometimes you know the exact answer, but you don't want to share the answer because you don't feel like people are not going to understand. And that happens. So one thing that I just wanted to say that's very important is, y'all think that the subtle things mean nothing. The pushing, the name calling, the jokes, the lying, the manipulating. But where do y'all think that these women that I just showed y'all, who are killed by their boyfriends, their fiancés, their husband, where do y'all think that it starts? Y'all think that it just starts with that slap across the face? Y'all think that the bruises and the black eyes are the beginning? It's not the beginning at all. It starts with power and control. It starts with the mind. It starts with the very small things that lead up to someone feeling comfortable enough to put their hands on you. And so I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you the power and control wheel. Okay, so here is the power and control wheel. This is the number one thing that I share with the students that I work with all the time, the girls that I work with. The physical and sexual violence, those are the things that happen on the outer circle. Those are the extreme. And the death, this is the extreme. Death is not even on the circle. But the inside, these are the small things that we make light of and we make jokes about every single day. So someone using coercion and threats, obviously we know what that looks like. Sometimes people don't leave because they're threatened. I'll kill you if you leave me. Or all sorts of crazy threats. It could be about taking children away. You see here using children, making them feel guilty about children. using intimidation. So any types of looks, destroying your property, flashing a gun in your face, punching a wall next to your head, something like that, killing a cat or a dog in front of you and displaying it in your face, trying to make you feel scared in some sort of way. Emotional abuse, name calling, playing mind games with you, humiliating or putting someone down in person, making them feel guilty about something. My favorite one that people like to do in our generation is making you feel like you're crazy. You ever been in a situation where you know what you know and you know that you're telling the truth and you know that you're onto something, but a person is like arguing you down, telling you that you're tripping, that you're wrong, that you're crazy, and then later on down the line you find out that everything that you was saying was true and it came out right, and that's emotional abuse, and that's something that people use to manipulate you. So even more so than that, isolation, so keeping you away from people that you care about, your family and friends. And this is a lot of times because they know that people are going to catch on to your behavior. They're going to catch on to you acting funny. They're going to catch on to something being different with you, and they're going to wonder why, why is this person acting like this, and they don't want you to meet a person like me who's going to give you this information and allow you to decide for yourself, like, do you want to continue the cycle, or do you want to be okay and be able to move on from it? So we already talked about using children against you, but going back to denying, minimizing, and blaming, this whole thing right here, this whole section is the definition of gaslighting, and being manipulating. So acting as if the abuse didn't happen, shifting responsibility for the abusive behavior. Well, I would have never hit you if you didn't say this, or I would have never disrespected you like that if you never said, or if you never did anything like that. So they can't control their behavior. So they say that what they do to you is their fault. They can't control their temper at all. Not taking your concerns seriously. So you're not respecting you. Basically, there's no respect in this situation. If you're telling a person how you feel about something and they brush it off and make it seem like it's so small, that's not a big deal at all. We don't have to worry about that, blah, blah, blah. But it's a big deal to you. It don't matter how small it is to them. If it's a big deal to you, then it's a big deal to you. And you don't have to cross or X off or change your boundaries for anyone. And this is the main thing that I want to emphasize before I end this podcast, because so many times we will put other people before ourselves, and we will I'm gonna stop sharing real quick so that y'all can see my face as I wrap this up. So many times we will put other people before ourselves and not stick to our boundaries. And we have to really make sure that we're loving ourselves more when it comes to these relationships. We have to make sure that we know exactly what we want in a relationship, number one. And we need to know how to enforce that. And I say how to enforce that because sometimes you may have it all figured out and planned out in your head and know that this is something that I'm interested in, this is something that I want. But when the time comes, or when you're in conflict with another person, or more so particularly your partner, and sometimes you end up giving in, or allowing them to kind of slide across your boundary, or you let them get away with something that that you're not okay with. You have to be careful doing that, because when you do that, you're showing a person that they can basically get away with it. Sometimes people will take that as gratitude and they will appreciate it and give you the respect and the love that you deserve, and that's great, and that's what we want in a lot of cases. But 9 times out of 10 it does not happen that way. And when you, especially dealing with a person who is manipulative and who is driven off of power and control, when you allow them to cross your boundaries, they're going to think that they can keep doing it. They're going to think that they can keep messing up, or they can keep doing whatever it is, hitting you, cursing you out, calling you out your name, using your kids against you, using money against you, because financial control is another one of those things that I was going to hit on next. Using your money against you. They're going to continue to do these things because they feel like you're giving them the opportunity to do that, like you're allowing them to do so. So you have to be really careful when it comes to relationships. Always make sure that you know what it is that you want. Always make sure you know exactly what you don't want. Also, communicate those things honestly with your partner. Sometimes you may hit because in relationships, guys, I'm not saying that you're supposed to get every single thing you're looking for, but sometimes in relationships, you're going to come across something that you both may conflict with. It could be one thing. Let's take cheating for an example. One person's definition in the relationship is anything physical, okay? But another person's definition is anything besides me at all, right? How do you find a common ground in that situation? Well, that's up to y'all. Y'all talk about that. Y'all figure it out. I can't tell y'all how to find a common ground for y'all because it's y'all relationship. Only y'all two know what's going to work for y'all. So I say in a situation like that, if you can't come to a common ground, if you can't come to some sort of resolution where you feel both of y'all are going to be content and okay with the outcome, then honestly, that's the time when you want to end the relationship. And a lot of times we ignore those boundaries and we be ignoring the red flags that everybody been posting last week because we know that if I cross this boundary out for this person and I don't allow them to slide on this, then I'm going to lose them. And I don't want to let them go. So I'm just going to let them slide over my boundaries just so I can keep them around. And that's the worst mindset to have. And a second bad mindset to have around that sort of relationship is when you think, okay, well, this person hurt me or they're a little misguided or whatever. I'm gonna give them another chance and I'm just gonna show them more love and think that and in hopes that they're going to, love me better. I'm gonna love them hard and I'm gonna show them that I'm really there for them and I got them and I'm not gonna hurt them. They're doing these things to me because they think I'm a bad person, but I'm not. So if I just show them that, then they're gonna love me more. But one thing that I was taught in so many different ways in my own personal experience and just from the work that I do, and I heard this from my boss and a few other people, you cannot love somebody more than what they already don't appreciate. And I'm going to say that one more time for you. You cannot love someone more than what they don't already appreciate. So if you're already loving a person, you're already supporting them, you're already giving them the things that you both agreed to in the beginning of our relationship, and you see that you're not getting the energy and the love back from them, loving them more, even more than that, is not going to make them appreciate it because they already don't appreciate what's in front of them now. So in a situation like that, the only thing that's going to help them is for them to be able to fully and understandably love themselves more and actually know what they want to be able to appreciate you. Some people, some of us have dealt with some narcissists. Some of us still dealing with some narcissists. That's why we had to take that moment of silence earlier, because the more and more we ignore the red flags and we don't have these conversations and we don't talk about this, then the more and more these things happen. I see the memes all the time, people talking about loving to be choked and, fighting, going back and forth, talking about stalking behavior, pulling up at people's house unannounced, slashing tires and all of this other stuff. And I know it may seem exciting when y'all can get into a fight and then y'all cut it up later like nothing ever happened and you just feel so powerful because you're like, yeah, I got this person, they not going nowhere. But at some point it gets so tiring and so old, and that just comes from experience, man. I ain't been in no fist fights with nobody that I've been involved with, but even down to just arguing, man, can just suck your energy. Like arguing, I done been in toxic situations where I've just been arguing all night, and then we just been arguing so much to where it's just like, man, you know what? I'm just tired of arguing. I'm gonna give in, you gonna give in, or we just gonna forget why we even arguing in the first place and just go to sleep because it's just been that kind of night. So those situations get tiring, and the problem with a lot of us, and I say us because we haven't had that example or that understanding of what healthy truly looks like. I think when anybody get into a relationship, you're thinking about what you like in that person and you want to date and all of that stuff. You're not necessarily thinking about setting boundaries in the first conversation. You're not necessarily thinking about, those are the things that we do in relationships most time when we become exclusive. But I guess there's not a lot of exclusivity going around in this generation right now, and maybe that's part of the problem. But I think that we definitely need to have more conversations and discuss our boundaries. So real quick, I'm going to go to the comments because I do see that I have 2 comments here, and I just want to go ahead and comment on them real quick. Jennifer Lynn said, I appreciate you educating everyone on this. It's not an easy situation, and it's the fear of the unknown on how to get out. Absolutely, yes. And that is why the organization that I work for, Hopeful Horizons, Real Child Advocacy, Domestic Violence, and Rape Crisis Center, and we have free services, number one. So the agency has free services. You can get counseling services. We have a shelter location. If you need to flee from a domestic situation, we have a lot of resources out there, even just information, because again, there are things about domestic violence that people don't know, and that's okay, but it's time for us to, it's not okay. So it's time for us to educate ourselves and learn and make sure our kids are educated. So, yeah, man, we have to do that. And the other comment says, I appreciate you educating everyone. It's not an easy situation, and it's death, the fear of the unknown, and how and where to go and get out. Yes, absolutely. Some people don't know how to get out. It's just like being in an unhealthy relationship sometimes. Some of us feel stuck and don't know how to get out. We don't know where to start or what the process should be, and it's difficult. So you just sit there and you're kind of stuck. It's the, like you said, the fear of the unknown, Jennifer. So thank you for commenting that, because that's very true. And I just want people to understand that it may look or seem so simple for you to just walk away from a situation because maybe you were taught that, you were instilled those values from your parents, not to let anyone yell at you out the door, not to let anyone talk to you a certain way, you out the door, curse you and call you names. Some of us could be out the door cheating, out the door automatically. Some of us, like we all have different boundaries that make us want to leave those situations. But for some people, it's not that simple. And we have to think about experience, and we have to think about knowledge. And not all of us have the knowledge and the power and the resources sometimes. Some women, people don't realize, some women pick up their whole lives in the middle of the night, their children, and they just leave. And that takes strength to do, and end up in a shelter somewhere. Asking complete strangers to help you, especially when you feel guilty, especially when you feel like the abuse is your fault. And that's why I'm here to educate, because the abuse is never the fault of the victim. I don't care what someone says, what they did. If you didn't clean up, if you talk to them with an attitude, I don't care. Like, nobody deserves to be abused because of that. There are simple things that you can do. An attitude is a simple fix. Not cooking at a certain time. Like, come on, there are all sorts of crazy reasons why people get abused in these situations that could be serious, simple fixes. But an abuser, the perpetrator, will attack the victim and tell them it's your fault. You're a messy person. I treat you like this because you're not good enough. I treat you like this because you do X, Y, Z. Instead of, if a person is not to your liking, then leave them alone. Like, too many people are dating people that they don't actually like and that they don't actually want to be with. So they develop abusive patterns and behaviors. So the last thing that I want to share with y'all is that, we can't continue to stay silent about this. We have to continue to talk and share information when we see it. So if y'all see this video, drop some purple hearts for me and share it and let other people know. DVAM 2021 is coming to an end, but just because that is so, that doesn't mean that we can't continue to educate ourselves from here on out. The month of October is not the only month that we should be talking about domestic violence awareness, especially since it's going to continue to happen. So we just have to continue to talk. We have to continue to have these conversations. We have to continue to be supportive of our friends. I'm going to do another video where I talk specifically on how to support someone who is in an abusive relationship. Because like the hashtag says, y'all, the theme for DVAM 2021 this year is Everyone Knows Someone. And we have all been there. If we haven't experienced it ourselves, we've seen someone in a situation, or we know someone who is going through something, picking up on not just the bruises and the black eyes, but just seeing how a person is emotionally abusive to someone else, and just crying all the time. If you find yourself crying all the time, crying yourself to sleep, You can't even concentrate. You can't focus on anything else because you're thinking about the problems in your household. Then 9 times out of 10, you're in an abusive situation or even an unhealthy situation. And we don't always encourage people that the first thing that they have to do is get out. Especially if it's not deadly. It's always up to you. It's always up to the victim in that situation. But we do have safety planning options because sometimes, and this is one thing that family members and a lot of people who victim blame don't understand, sometimes victims don't want the relationship to end. They just want the abuse to end, if that makes sense. They want the lying to end. They want the manipulating to end. They want the cheating to end. They want the physical violence to end. But the only thing that is going to make that happen is if the abuser wants that stuff to stop, if they want to change. We can't change people because we want them to do better. We can have the most healthiest intentions for a person. We could have, the best intentions, and we want to do great things with a person. But if they don't want that stuff for themselves, then they're not going to do it. And sometimes we're with people who claim they want it and who may really even truly want it, but they don't know how to go about it because they've been spending their whole lives doing some unhealthy or some abusive things. So they get with you, a healthy person, and they're trying to figure out, how to communicate properly, how to, even communicate when they're feeling some type of way themselves, how to express themselves properly, how to get things off of their chest. Sometimes it's a struggle for some people, and I get that. And that's why I said that I would just prefer us take it slow and try to figure out what's the best options and what's the best routes for us, especially when in those situations. I'm telling y'all, I've been there, not being physically abused. I shared this with my kids the other day. The kids that I work with in Colleton County Middle School, they were asking me, they said, Miss Raven, have you ever been in an abusive situation? And I said, oh yeah. And I said, I'm gonna be the first to admit that I have been emotionally and verbally abused, and I have been verbally abusive, and I have been physically abusive myself. And I told them how I thought I was justified in some situations, especially as women. We be thinking that we justified to stuff. We think that we justified to put our hands on men as well. We think that, they do certain things to us that we have the right to hit them. And that's not the case. I know it may seem like that at the time, like, it's not fair. You get me in other ways, so I'm going to get you in this way physically. But that is another situation that can lead to something deadly happening. So that's why it's just unhealthy and it's abusive, and we just need to stay away from those sorts of behaviors and focus on resolving things in a healthy manner. And if it gets to a point where, you and a person are just constantly out of character and constantly fighting and y'all can't resolve things healthy, then again, that's a time where it's most healthier to just end the situation. I never tell anybody to end their situation because I'm not in the situation and I don't know what all is involved or what all has been put into it. But I always say, and I told my girls this too the other day because they asked me about getting cheated on. One of the girls asked me for advice. She said that her girlfriend had cheated and she didn't know if she wanted to forgive her or not. And I said to her, it really depends on you. That's disrespectful, especially if y'all agreement is that y'all were not going to be with other people and only each other. And so, because I had another girl in the class who didn't think cheating was a big deal because she was like, I wouldn't care for my partner to cheat because I cheat too. That happens. Okay, cool. That's your prerogative. That's fine. But this particular girl, she was upset about it because that was not a part of her agreement. So like I told her, that's up to you. And I gave her advice and I told her, in my experience, I said, for me personally, when I'm going through something like that, my trust is out the window, right? And it takes so long to build that trust out. So I said, going forward for me in my life, if I was ever in a situation like that, I think it would just be best for me to just let it go because I know how my trust issues are. I know how badly it's going to mess up my mind. And also the worst part of it is I'm going to develop controlling behaviors to where I will be abusive. I will want to have power and control. I need to know locations, and I need to just make sure you wear what you say you wear, you doing all this other stuff, you know? So I told her personally, for me personally, I couldn't do it going forward, just because it's a lot that comes with it, and it's a lot of hard work to stay with someone and build that trust. But if she feels that she can go back and rebuild that trust and clear her mind and just think, you know, it was a mistake, it's not going to happen again, and move forward positively, and then that's fine. Because there are some people who are like, you know what, it's just a mistake, I understand, they're going to do better, and they're fine with that, and they can move on without even thinking about it. I am not one of those types of people. So this is why I say different strokes for different folks, and you got to figure out what works best for you. And I think we will save a whole lot of time and avoid a whole lot of violence if we just started being honest with each other about those things. You know, they have all sorts of questions that they ask about relationships. You know, I had another student who told me that her boyfriend said that she couldn't talk to guys. She couldn't either even dap them up or give them a hug in the hallway. But she was like, he has a bunch of girlfriends though. He has girl best friends. And another student was like, oh no, my man can't have no girl best friend. I'm his only best friend. I'm his only friend, and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh. So then we had to get into a conversation about boundaries. And I told her, I said, look, you need to have a conversation with your boyfriend and let him know, if you're going to have these boundaries for me, then we gonna have to be able to come to some sort of common ground, because if we can't, then we can't be together, because he's trying to control her behavior at 14, but he's doing what he wants to. So basically she's locked down and he's acting like he's single. And I told her, you know, those sorts of situations where there is that power and the control can grow to be more and more abusive. So I just think that it's always important to educate yourself, know what you want, what you don't want in your situation. Just because your friend is okay. You know, I got friends who their dating preferences are completely different from mine. I got friends who would do certain things that I personally feel like I would never do. And then there are some things that I'm okay with or that I would deal with that they would never, you know? So we all have our own preferences. It's up to you. Don't let nobody make you feel guilty for it. I don't care if you're 19 and no, let's not go with that. Okay, let's not go with that, because that's kind of pedophilia, what I was about to say. I don't care if you 26 and you want to date a 40-year-old and all your friends want to clown you. If that's what you like, that's what you like. Do that. You know, whatever your boundaries are, whatever it is that you want, stick to that. Whatever it is that you don't, stick to that. And try to limit as much as possible, allowing people to cross that. And you limit also you crossing your own boundaries, because sometimes we're like, you know what, it's okay, I can let it slide. And every time you do that, I had to learn this the hard way, y'all, because I used to do this all the time. Every time you say, you know what, I'm not okay with this, but I'm gonna forgive you this time, or I'm gonna let you do this time, or whatever, and you don't do anything about it, you chill about it, you're saying, forget me and how I feel. This person is more important, so I'm gonna let them go through it what they feel. And that's not fair. And I'm not talking about little things, y'all. I'm not talking about the little simple things like, oh, I'm going to cook spaghetti tonight instead of stewed chicken because he would like spaghetti. I'm not talking about something like that. Even though, like, if you really want that stewed chicken, cook that stewed chicken, girl or guy. You know, no gender preferences over here. But I'm talking about, like, when it comes to the deal breaker thing. I'm talking about when it comes to matters of the heart. You know, if something is going to break you and it's going to affect your everyday daily functioning, like if you constantly thinking about something that a person did and you just can't get it out of your mind and it's messing up your head and stuff, then that's something that you should not have sacrificed your boundary over. But if it's something that's like, you know, again, one of those things where y'all can communicate and find some sort of common ground where both of y'all are okay, that is what you should do. But it should never be to a point where one person's feelings is more important than yours. We don't want that. The last thing I'm gonna leave y'all with is abuse is a cycle, and this is how you'll know if you're in an abusive situation. If 1 minute things are good, right? And then soon you start to find yourself walking on eggshells, trying not to say or do the wrong thing just to piss that person off because you know it's going to send them off, right? And so you're the event happens, and then that's when they blow up, whether it's drinking or whatever it is that causes them to blow up, and they get verbally abusive or physically abusive or whatever the type of abuse is that they get. Whatever that is, the event happens, right? So then that happens, whatever it is that they blow up, then it's the calm phase where, they're remorseful, they're apologizing, they're telling you that, oh, it wasn't that big of a deal, I didn't mean to, or I'll never do it again. They may bring you flowers, take you on a nice date or whatever. Then y'all in the honeymoon phase. This is where victims have hope, y'all. This is where they start to think that, okay, things may have been bad, but right now it's good. We're on a date. I feel better. I'm happier. So we good. So that is why a lot of people stay in these abusive situations, because of the cycle of abuse. And I'm about to pull it up for y'all real quick right now so y'all can see exactly what it is that I'm talking about. I have it pulled up right here. So let me share my screen really quickly with y'all so y'all can see that the cycle of abuse is very real, and it very much happens, and we just have to be careful and protect ourselves, because the more and more you allow this to happen and a person does not take accountability, then the cycle is not going to be broken, and it's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going and keep going. That's what we don't want to happen. So right now I'm going to share my screen and show y'all, this is why victims stay in abusive situations. From this cycle right here. Sorry guys, technical difficulties. Okay, so let's just go with this. But here it is. So that tension building that I was talking about, y'all, you stepping on eggshells for whatever reason, you're not communicating well, you're starting to feel like something may happen. The incident does happen, you do or say whatever that ticks that person off, and you get that anger, that emotional abuse, the threats, the intimidations, and all of that other stuff the next morning or a few hours later. However it happens, they calm down. They want to apologize. They want to reconcile. They want to make up all of these excuses of why they did what they did. They may tell you that what they did is your fault. I'm so sorry. I never would have even acted like that if you would have just did so and so and so and blah, 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 blah. All of these is foolishness. If you ever get to this phase with a person, and if that apology does not come with changed behavior, if that apology at step 3 does not come with a person realizing that no matter what a person does to me, if I have to get out of character like that, then I need to either leave them alone or I need to walk away or do something different, then you don't need to be with that person. Because if they can't accept accountability, then that's how you know they're going to continue to do the same thing. Just because you get to this stage number 4 where everything is calm and you kind of forgot about whatever it is that they said or they did to you, and you in a honeymoon phase and y'all going out to eat and y'all on dates and y'all having good sex and everything just feels good again or whatever, it's going to happen again unless what I told y'all at number 3 happens. Unless they actually understand what they're doing wrong, unless they actually decide, you know what, I need to change my behavior, unless they start actually making steps and taking progress to do something different, then it's not going to change and the cycle is going to continue. So that's why people stay in abusive situations, because it's a cycle. Sometimes they don't even realize they're a cycle until it's like, you know what, this just happened the other day. You just got drunk and argue with me or fight with me or whatever the case was, because there's so many different scenarios. You just got drunk and you did this to me, and then now you want to make up, and then now you're drunk again, and I know what's about to happen, and you're about to do that, and then you're going to want to make up. Some people realize that that's what happens. And hi, I got a comment from YouTube. Hi, Take. What's up, man? I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments about anything that I'm saying relating to Domestic Violence Awareness Month, go ahead and drop them. Any gems, please share. I'm just sitting here speaking my truth and talking about the importance of spreading awareness and letting people know why people stay in these abusive situations. It's so easy to look and from the outside and say, just do this, just do that. But on the inside, it's never that easy. It's never that simple. And that's just what I want to leave y'all with. I will come back with another video on things that you can do and ways that you can support a person, a loved one, a friend, anyone that you know who is in an abusive situation. Always remember that there are local agencies, local crisis centers, like Hopeful Horizons in our area, who is a child advocacy, domestic violence, and rape crisis center. We have a shelter location. We have free services. There are always agencies in your area where you can get information on, where you can go online and create a safety plan. So if, say, for example, you don't want to leave the situation, you just want the abuse to stop, so we'll help you figure out a safety plan for when that person gets drunk and, they start yelling loudly or they start throwing glass or something like that. There are ways that we can help and offer support. So I just wanted to share that because I'm going to show this video one more time just so that we can see their faces, because their faces matter. These women, and they're just a few. These are just a few. It doesn't even scratch the surface. So many women lose their lives to domestic violence, and y'all can clearly see. I actually have the banner blocking it, but a lot of these women were killed this month alone, y'all. This month, like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I think there was one in here from August. Like, these women were killed recently during Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Like I told y'all, people don't care about that. We don't care until it's our auntie or our mom or our sister or something like that, or our daughter. We don't care until it's that. And that's another, I promise is the last thing I'm gonna leave y'all with. How come, I'm gonna give y'all an example. When I was growing up, my brothers, my cousins, my daddy, my mom, my whole family always emphasized to me, if a man hits you, let me know. You better tell me. Because if you don't tell me and I find out that he hitting you, then I'm going to put hands on you. That's what I was taught growing up, right? So what I want to know is, how come us women are taught that we're valuable enough that we can't be hit, but it's okay for us to be emotionally abused? How come nobody told me when I was younger, you shouldn't let your partner talk to you a certain way? Nobody told me that this is disrespectful, or this is disrespectful, or this is how you communicate. The only thing that they emphasized was, don't nobody put their hands on you. So for me personally, I'm just giving y'all this as an example. The smaller things that lead up to abuse that I've experienced in relationships, I didn't pick up on because I didn't know it was a red flag. And that's the same with a lot of these girls. A lot of these middle school and high school girls that are telling me things like they like to be choked and that they like to be in abusive situations, they're not picking up on these red flags because we're watching Love and Hip Hop, The Shade Room. Y'all, they're looking at comments on the internet where they see Quavo and Sweetie throwing each other around, and everybody's saying, oh, it's not a big deal. That's normal. That happens all the time. So guess what? When they get in a relationship, they're going to think, oh, it's normal for my partner to push me around and throw me. And, they're going to think that that's okay. And it's not. John Tavius comment on Facebook, what to do if it's your sister and you want to kill the guy, but she love him. That's the situation that a lot of people are in. And that's why a lot of people say that they don't get involved in their family members' business, because, you could fight the guy or you could try to kill the guy, and then your sister is still going to love him or still want to be with him. The only thing that you can do in a situation like that, John Tavius and everybody else under the sound of my voice is listening, only thing that you can do is bring this information to her. Don't ask her why she's with him. Don't ask her why she's still with him after he did XYZ to her. Don't tell her that it's her fault because she's still in that situation. Don't tell her none of those things, because if you paid attention to what I just said about the power and control wheel and the cycle of abuse, it's not her fault. It's not her fault. The only thing that you can do is bring her some new information that she probably didn't have, or she probably didn't know nothing about. And let me tell you, what she's going to do when you bring that information to her, she's going to take that information to her partner, and she's going to try to get her partner on that healthy way, to communicate healthy, to have a healthy relationship. And if that don't work, sad to say, that's when the toxicity continues to increase. If a lot of people in those situations, if they don't want to do better, then they're just going to be like, I don't want you talking to John Tavius no more because he's telling you something good. And then he's telling you this good information. Now I can't control you or manipulate you anymore. That's what they don't like. So as I said, I'm going to do a whole nother video on just specifically straight up talking about the importance of being there, or how to be there, and how to support someone in a situation like that. But just give them information. Sometimes it's hard for a person in that situation to let go, way harder than what we thought, it would be. So I just wanted to let y'all see this comment from John Tavius. Thank you for asking that question. I got another one here. Maybe they think you could always talk it out. Unfortunately, I don't understand why it's often limited to physical abuse and not emotional abuse as well. Well, I want to say on that one, because a lot of people don't think that the emotional and the verbal abuse is that bad. They think, oh, a little few hurt tears or whatever, you'll be all right. They don't think it's that bad, but they don't understand that emotional abuse can mess up your mind just as much as physical abuse can mess up your mind. Take somebody manipulating or making you feel crazy, for example. Take a person like playing you in your face, and like you're not tripping, like their patterns change, their texting has changed, they're spending less time with you, but they're telling you, you're crazy, I'm still with you all the time, we still spend the same amount of time together, I am not in my phone all the time, I didn't stop posting you on social media because I'm dealing with other people. Like, they change up completely, and when you address it, they make you feel like you're crazy, right? That's enough to make a person sink in their mind and feel like, am I going crazy? Am I tripping? Is this really happening? So that is something that does happen, unfortunately, and that's why people think that the physical is just the only important. It is very important now, because physical abuse, sexual abuse, oftentimes it leads to death, but so does the emotional and the verbal. It may take longer, but it still does. You can't see the other folks' comments because the other folks are from Facebook. I am streaming right now on Facebook, on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, and on my YouTube channel right now. So that's why I have to put the comments, like I'm showing the comments on the screen right now. So if you look at the screen, you can see John Tavius's comment where he asked about the sister. Then I'll also post the other two comments that I got from Facebook, so you can see those as well. But I do appreciate y'all for being here, for being a part of this conversation with me, and just for listening. Domestic violence awareness is so important. Like the hashtag says, everyone knows someone. If it's not us, it's a family member or a friend. And it's not just women who are experiencing this. Men experience domestic violence as well. Like I said earlier, women think that, you cheat on me, I'm a slap. Honestly, y'all, I'm gonna keep it 100 real quick. I get that from movies. I've seen that in movies. I don't watch a few movies. Girlfriend in high school, her boyfriend cheat on her, whatever. She find out, she give him the biggest slap across the face and walk away. I thought that was normal. But for me personally, growing up, I saw more than just slaps. I seen little fist fights. So I've attacked in situations like that. Like, I thought it was justified, and it's not. And that's something that education has taught me. I had to learn that I'm not justified just because I'm a woman, and I had to learn I'm not justified just because somebody did me wrong. If I don't like how a person did me, then I have the safest option to just leave them alone. But if I choose not to leave them alone, then it's also my responsibility to choose to take a healthier path to dealing with what I don't like, if that makes sense. Not dealing with it in a toxic or abusive manner, like having any sort of power and control. John Tavius, for those that like to get rough and talk too harsh, does that still count as abuse? When you say get rough and talk harsh, what do you mean by that? If you're saying rough, like anything that's considered abuse, John Tavius, is if it changes or alters a person's state of mind for the worse. So again, if it's messing up their mind, if it's affecting them, name calling, like somebody can call me big head all day long. That's not going to affect me. But say someone, because I just had a baby and they made like, say I had a dating partner who made like just unnecessary comments about my body, knowing that I was already insecure, telling me like, oh, you probably shouldn't be eating that. Don't you want to lose weight? Or saying, you're getting too big and you're saying that you don't want to, like, just making comments, hurtful comments, knowing that I'm already sensitive about something like that, then that would be considered harsh, emotionally abusive. But if it's not like altering your state of mind, it's something that you can joke about, because some people like to roast each other in relationships. That's fine. If y'all a couple where y'all can just roast each other and go back to back, that's cool. Y'all can do that. But getting rough, cursing, disrespecting, name calling, that's what I would consider rough, and talking harsh. Just talking to you in any way you don't want to be talked to. Me personally, I don't like being yelled at. Don't raise your voice at me. I don't like that. And I realize that I have a problem. Like when I get angry, I raise my voice too. I can't expect something to somebody that I have trouble doing with also. So I will start doing things like that. Like I'm constantly checking myself. And that's something that I think we can all learn from. Constantly check ourselves and make sure the things that we want, the things that we expect of our partners, as far the things that we expect as far as respect, then we should be giving those things as well. So I just want to leave you with that. Thank you, Take. I'm glad that it was informative for you. Share this with friends, family, because we got, everybody knows someone, and there's someone out there who needs this information, and to understand that if they're in an abusive situation, they're not alone. You can be an abuser. You could very much have done some of the things that I said on here, control somebody's whereabouts, demanded their location, made them dress, told them that they couldn't dress a certain way or they couldn't do a certain thing. You could have been cheating on your partner. You could have been lying, manipulating, whatever those things can be. You can say, you know what, that is messed up of me to do, or you know what, I really don't want to hurt this person's feelings. I am going to do better. And you can actually start practicing that. But as I said, y'all, the only way that a cycle of abuse is going to end is if a person wants it to for themselves, not for anybody else, but they want to change for themselves and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And they pair that idea with also work. You have to put in work behind it. You can't just say, yeah, I'm going to do better. You have to actually practice doing better, because it's not going to happen overnight. So just because you say, for me, example, one of the things I just told y'all, I don't like being yelled at, but if I get mad, I'm going to raise my voice. So the next 5 times that I get mad, I have to practice not raising my voice and keeping my voice down. So in the future, when I get mad, that's not something that I do. And I have to practice it by trying something different. And there are always lists and things that we can do to try something different, instead of raising your voice, instead of hitting somebody, instead of flashing your gun, or, blocking their exit, or punching a wall next to their face, or flashing a knife at their throat, or whatever it is. There's always something else that you can do. You can walk away. You can say, you know what, I'm too heated right now. I need to step back and try this again later. There's always something else that you can do. But remember, abuse is about power and control. A person who wants to have power and they want to have control over you. So just wanted to share that with y'all so that we stop victim blaming. We learn to support each other, and we learn to speak up and have these conversations. These conversations aren't meant to be the most exciting. Some of them are very boring or whatever. But at the end of the day, we got to talk about it, because if we don't, it's just going to continue to happen under our noses. And I don't think that it's fair for us to only care about this if it's our family members happening. So remember, silence allows predators to keep haunting in peace. And we don't want them to keep doing it. We want them to stop. So stop joking about choking your girlfriend, or, stop telling her that you're going to choke her for her doing something that you don't like, because it's not funny, because people are really choked to death by it. Like I can't tell y'all what to joke about, but I'm just saying, like, when you do those things, it makes other people think it's okay. So say if I told a joke like, yeah, I'm gonna choke his ass if he do this XYZ, right? Now say nobody laughed at me or nobody even reacted to me, said that, or somebody said to me, you probably shouldn't be joking about something like that. That'll at least make me think about it. Like, you at least put a thought in my head that, damn, like, that's a serious thing that happens. That's all I'd be asking. You put a thought in somebody's head sometime, like, when they make jokes about rape or, abuse, and let them know, like, that's not cool. That really happens. Sometimes people just need that thought in their head to come to reality and realize that this is happening. I know it may seem like a joke and it's so funny, ha ha, but is it funny that there are 300 Black women alone who have died from domestic violence in the past year? And I just showed y'all a slideshow with, 9, 10 of them in the past month? Is that funny? I don't think so. So, hey man, it is what it is. It is a community effort take, and that is exactly why I'm putting this out on my podcast to share. I posted it on my podcast. I posted it on Facebook. I'll put it on my Instagram, my Snapchat, and I also work for a nonprofit organization in my area. I work for a nonprofit in my area who does do community efforts to do things like that. I have videos on my agency's website, on my agency's YouTube page, where I'm doing different videos, awareness videos, different topics, sharing information about dating violence, about setting boundaries, about the importance of consent, about the importance of mental health, Black mental health matters, men mental health matters, anything that I can do to provide support, I'll do that. So you said we are basically talking about the same thing. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but yeah. I don't said this before, but I'm really about to leave y'all because my baby might be up soon. Hopefully not though, and if he's not, I want to get a good rest in before he does get up tonight. But I just thought that it was very important for us to have this conversation. I couldn't let the month of October end without going live at least once to have this conversation. I have been doing a lot of sharing on my timeline. Oh, okay. I see you. I've done a lot of sharing on my timeline. Y'all see me posting on Purple Hearts and sharing information from other organizations and resources involving dating violence. And I'm going to continue to do that. The kids that I work with at the school, I've been getting them involved in doing projects and sharing information across their schools. We really going to go hard for Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So, we just got to do what we got to do. Like I said, I started this platform to talk about the importance of mental health and address things that people are not comfortable talking about and the things that people don't understand. If I had somebody coming into my school when I was the age of the girls that I work with, if I was in middle school and I was in high school, then I would have been saved from so many relationships. I would have made better choices, smarter choices. I felt like I would have made more, I won't say better, I would say more informed. I would have made more informed choices. I would have known to ask certain questions when it comes to a dating partner. I would have known not to just be looking for looks and make sure that he's going to be able to support and provide. I should have just been making sure that this mental state is okay. What type of family does he come from? What type of friends does he go around? Like, how does he spend his free time? Like, what are the types of things he like to go to? What types of things that he puts into his mind? Like, those things. What does the person do to feed themselves? What is their character like? Are they respectful? Are they going to respect my boundaries? Are they going to tell me, are they going to properly communicate their boundaries with me? These are very important questions that we need to be asking and getting in situations. So if I had somebody come into the schools and teach me these things, then I would have been fine. And it's not like my parents were neglectful, that they didn't do a good job raising me, because I think they did an amazing job, but it's just some things that I feel like they just didn't know what's so important to tell me. I think they just thought the most important thing at that time, which a lot of people thought, was don't put your hands on my child. And they told me don't let nobody hurt me in that way. They left everything up for me to decide what I wanted to deal with in a relationship. And I just wish that we had more conversations about what healthy looked like, because most of the time, growing up, my mom was single. She didn't get married until I was in college. So I didn't see her date. She had one long time boyfriend, and If y'all watch my sexual assault video, y'all know how that turned out for me. But that I didn't see too many examples. I've only seen one serious, real example of what a healthy relationship looks like, in my opinion, where they communicate healthy. They don't disrespect, belittle, argue with each other. I thought it was normal to disrespect and degrade your partner and curse them out and stuff when you're mad at them. I thought a lot of that stuff was normal a long time ago. And I had to realize after I had my child that it's not. And that's not the life that I want to live. Y'all, I crave peace so bad. If it's not peace, then I really don't want it. I don't want to have to be with nobody that I got to argue with all the time. I'm not trying to be busting windows or tires or be bitter or questioning another female about something that that should be between me and my partner. I should never have to be in that situation. I don't want none of that. And I'm teaching the girls the things that I've learned, so that they can have that strength and they can build healthier bonds in situations, and prayerfully avoid like making some of those same mistakes that I did. So that's the importance of us talking about dating violence, because it happens, man. It happens to the best of us. But luckily for me, luckily for so many of us, we are blessed that we can catch on to some of our unhealthy and abusive behaviors and start to work on them and fix them while we're still young, while we still have time. But unfortunately, so many of women and men even have died in situations. I remember seeing a video of a woman who ran her boyfriend over for cheating, and he actually died. And she was saying like that's what he get because he cheated, and now she's spending the rest of her life in prison. I don't ever want to be in no situation like that, and I would never want any of my girls to be in a situation like that, because it's not worth throwing your life away for a relationship. But some people get so into the moment and so into that toxic abusive cycle and that rush to where they don't even think about things like that, and that's what we want to avoid. More peace and less violence. So help me in the fight, y'all, of having more peace and less violence. And let's just do the best we can. Let's just take it slow. Let's start small, and start with having conversations, educating ourselves and educating our kids about what healthy and what abusive looks like. Don't just tell them not to be don't just tell them not to let anybody hit them. Teach them, effective ways to communicate, effective ways to set boundaries, what consent means, how to give consent, and all that. And I promise you, they will flourish and they will have healthy, strong, meaningful relationships for their teenage years and all throughout their adult lives. It's women, not just me, like me in my 20s, but women in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who are trying to relearn from the past and set boundaries properly and heal. Because we're not our grandparents' generations where we sitting in relationships for 70 years dealing with a whole bunch of foolishness. Not happening. So good night, y'all. I just wanted to leave y'all with that. Thank y'all